Hello! What you were watching is a now scrapped video where I go into the Overlord from Ninjago, his character and role so far, why people consider him boring, and what they can do to make him more interesting. Its whole green screening thing seems weird. It's something I'm trying out for whenever I do something like this with like uploading a video I have scrapped. What's behind me is supposed to be like the first frame of the video, however the first frame of the video is a black screen, so it seems a little pointless, I know. I might not even continue using it as I'm starting to feel like this format is a bit limited. As for why the video has been cancelled, similar to the Rivendell video, is a mix of demotivation and a lack of confidence in the video itself. But unlike the Rivendell video, there's a bit of a bigger issue at play. But I'll talk about that after you see the video itself. Hey guys, before this video starts, I just wanted to let you know that halfway through the video, the mic quality is going to vastly improve and sound more like this. Fillmore had a massive update which cleaned up the audio or did whatever this is, I'm not totally sure. And also made me realize that my audio has been pretty bad up until now. Just wanted to let you know why there might be a jarring shift of audio during the video. But with that being said, enjoy the video. One more thing for me, it's been so long since I recorded this, my audio updated again. It's actually based off setting on my computer that I can adjust. It might not even stay like this since I'm still playing around with it to see what's best. So if you have any problems with how the audio is right now, please let me know. But that was all, back to the video. Also spoilers for all these.
In order for there to be light, there must be shadow. And within shadow, there is darkness.
Awaken, you fool! Been waiting for you.
What is this place?
Where am I?
You are with me. It is the place you were always meant to find. Destiny brought you here.
Who are you?
The blackest of darkness that existed from the very beginning. An evil spirit.
Who are you?
He is the embodiment of evil. He's fed by anger, hatred, and conflict. As they build up over time, he gains in strength and ultimately takes form again.
How do you know all this?
Your grandfather fought me and failed. Your father fought me and also failed. You tried twice and failed. I go by many names. Dark Lord, Golden Master, Crystal King. But you may call me Overlord.
Actually, I've never liked the Overlord. Crystal King, maybe. Just maybe.
The Overlord is my least favorite villain in all of Ninjago.
Definitely not the Overlord. His entire character is that he's literally made of pure evil.
He's boring, he's one-dimensional, and overall he's just extremely generic.
I think the Overlord was incredibly boring.
What did you like about Ninjago Crystallized?
Actually gave the Overlord a character.
It's so bland and basic, especially in a show where the villains are often more complicated than that. Like, he literally has a council of villains with motivations that were more interesting than his.
Okay, so can we have well-written Overlord now besides him being, I am the evil bad guy, I am power-hungry and want to rule Ninjago lol/HJ.
TBH Overlord is too one-dimensional. He got 2 seasons. He's awesome, but hard to break new ground since he's such a massive bad. I ask you, how would he evolve?
Interesting question.
Come!
The Dark Lord, the Golden Master, the Crystal...
Alright, I get it!
The Overlord is the big baddie of all of Ninjago, despite only appearing for 3 out of the 15 seasons, not even accounting for specials. For those unaware and or need a refresh, his whole stick is that he wants to corrupt Ninjago and turn it into his own image because, well, ultimate evil. In his debut season 2, he succeeds in that goal through the help of Garmadon, only to then be defeated by Lloyd. And that was where Ninjago ended. Until it wasn't. And with this new era of Ninjago, they decided to bring back the Overlord. This time with the motivation of wanting to be more than just a pile of evil cum. He wants not just his own body, but the powers of the first Spinjitzu Master, aka Lloyd's powers, and to become the Golden Master. But other than that, he's literally the same character, building fortress and all. Okay, so they set up that he can survive. So how could they go about defeating him now? Well, they freeze him in ice and just shatter him. Now that'll kill him. And that was it. For the past 8 years. Until it wasn't. Because with the most recent season and finale to the past 11 years of Ninjago, they brought back the Overlord again, this time under the mantle of the Crystal King, for one final battle. Or so it seems. Because they decided to do something actually kind of interesting with him. He still has the same goal, but this time he has an actual motivation.
Destruction comes from the eternal struggle between light and dark. I will destroy the balance. There will be
people have criticized it for just being a glorified way of saying the exact same motivations from season 2 and 3, but even just that little bit makes him so much more interesting. It's a motivation that you could actually kind of get behind. It makes it seem like the Overlord thinks he'd be doing some actual good. The first Spinjitzu Master strives for peace in the light, and the Overlord strives for peace in the dark. One of the main themes of Crystallize is that anyone can do good, and having the literal embodiment of darkness and evil to only strive for peace and think he's actually doing good is just mwah! Chef's kiss. Ironically, a better execution of the theme than what they did with Hiromi. It also explicitly states something we've inferred since Rebooted. He can't be defeated. He is the embodiment of all evil, and as long as there is light, there will be dark. I think one of the boldest things this season does is embrace the idea of the status quo. And in an 11-year running long children's TV show that, let's be honest, its main point is to sell toys, the status quo is kind of inevitable. So what a better way to end off, at least this era, than to fully embrace that. I mean, they don't really do anything with it. They pay lip service to it with the Overlord thing, but then just never bring it up again in favor of just shattering him again. They do a better job with the ninja's powers, but due to the lack of proper build-up, it really has no impact. Really, everything this season that's not Nier-related has the impact of a pillow bolted to the floor. Okay, I know this intro is dragging, but I feel like I need to quickly state my thoughts on Crystallize. Overall, it's good. The Nier arc is some of the best episodes of Ninjago. 7 to 28 are good, maybe a gross mishandling of time, but good. And the last 2 episodes has every single major plot point concluded in the last 20 to 15 minutes, leading into it just kind of feeling like it's going through the motions in order to resolve everything. And as you saw earlier, that includes the defeat of the Overlord. They shatter him and move on with their day. Woohoo! We did it, my lord! We killed evil! We're just not gonna mention why I said 11 episodes prior. Now, I say all this to give you proper context as to where we currently are with the Overlord. Because even though I was praising his updated motivation earlier, he's still basically the same character. And everyone considers that character boring, generic, and uninteresting. But with what is possibly the biggest change to Ninjago at the very least since the studio shift, and with the Overlord most likely going to return, I thought it would be a good time to look at how this new era of Ninjago can not only bring him back again, but make him interesting. Now, I'm actually going to be keeping the same motivation, because not only do I think it works well enough as is, even if simple, but I don't think you need to have an interesting motivation to have an interesting character. Quick mini essay within an essay about character motivation. When you get down to it, a character motivation is really just what drives the character to do what they do. Really all it needs to do is to make sense to that character at that moment. Not to say a great motivation is completely unnecessary, quite the contrary, as that is what separates the good from the greats. However, I'm also not going to act like every villain needs the most complex motivation in the world. Some even work better with a simpler motivation, and one of those villains I feel is the Overlord. I truly think giving him any more than what he currently has would kind of defeat the purpose of the character. So if you do have any ideas for a better motivation, please let me know down in the comments. What I do think can be greatly improved upon is how the character is used. Because what I truly feel like is hurting the character isn't so much the character itself, but more just that they don't really do anything interesting with him. It's like they did absolutely nothing outside of what the basic synopsis of the Overlord would entail. I think they handle him pretty well in season 2, with his manipulation and corruption of Garmadon and how it takes an effect on Lloyd. Reboot, however, basically just being how I described him earlier. He's got some moments here or there, mainly due to how some of his lines are delivered. The way he greets Ninja being a standout for me.
The famous ninja have time for a meet and greet. Let's dance.
I just love the way Scott McNeil delivers that line. It's so good I often don't even pay attention to whatever the hell is going on with the Golden Max animation. Christ, Reboot is a mess. And Crystallize is weird. Like, on one hand, he really doesn't do anything interesting. Like, outside of bringing back Harumi because, well, she does everything.
Patrick, what about my break?
Oh, yeah, your break. Tomorrow, I promise.
Okay, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And maybe the cool fight with Wu, if that could be considered doing something. Like, they could have had him bring back Harumi just to mess with Lloyd, or have the crystallization of the generals allow the Overlord to corrupt their mind, or have the Overlord mock Lloyd with you know, something interesting we haven't seen before. But on the other, this is probably the Overlord's best outing. I mean, that's not saying much, but I don't think I've ever been this entertained by him. I think that really just comes down to the great rapport he has with the rest of the characters, and specifically the generals. Okay, now that I put it that way, it sounds a bit more like 2/3 on one hand, 1/3 on the other. As I'm making this video, I'm learning more about how bad the Overlord has been handled, and I love it. But this also brings me to my first actual way of making him interesting. Now, I want you to think.
No.
Yes, I understand. Unfortunately, it is necessary.
Dear God.
When has the Overlord been entertaining to you? And if you need more time to think, just pause the video. Chances are, when he's interacting with the other characters. So my first point would be to lean into him being a straight man. Give us more, you were monologuing, and silence! It works even better when he has no power to shut them up and can contrast well into when he finally does have that power. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Another thing I feel like would help would be to bring back his rebooted voice. The Crystal King voice was badass, but outside of that mantle, I feel the prior fits the character much better. And as I said earlier, has the perfect amount of comical manic. I feel people don't give enough credit to how a good VA or actor can truly sell a character. The right actor can make you ecstatic to see any character on screen. And I truly feel like Scott McNeil has the potential to do exactly that. But now it's time for the real meat of the video, and the part that I am most excited about. And you know what I'm about to say since I put it in the thumbnail.
I can't read!
My second pitch as to how to make the Overlord interesting is to make him a reoccurring character.
What?
And I don't just mean have him show up consistently throughout all the seasons, I mean showing up consistently throughout every season.
I hate everything you just said.
I liked it.
Do not agree with him in front of me.
Yeah, we're going in depth. So in depth, I think we need another transition just to break up the video. When the Overlord eventually comes back, the ninja will be ready for him and instantly capture him. You can have some conflict in them trying to capture him before he becomes too powerful, but the long and short of it is, he instantly gets captured and that's how he spends most of the series. They'd have a designated room to hold him in a chamber. It'd be under the monastery, presumably... why is that word so hard to say? Somewhere within the Sam X cave, so the ninja and specifically Master Wu can keep a close eye on him. Okay, he's captured. Now what? Yes, this is actually where I stopped working on the video, so I guess nothing. Though I did also record this part that would have gone a little bit later. As for how, there's multiple routes you could take. Maybe you could have him just somehow form naturally and they just catch him when he forms. That's probably a good time to get into why I've canceled the video. Well, there's a multitude of reasons, including general demotivation, feeling stuck on a video I am no longer passionate about when I could be working on something I am, and all the Ninjago episodes I downloaded really eating up my storage. But other than those, there are two main reasons. After the now what, I would have gone to A, how the Overlord would use his position trapped in the monastery to emotionally manipulate the ninja, specifically the rumored new ninja. Keep in mind I was writing this video back when we originally heard the rumors of Aura and Saren. And after that, I would go into plot points from the Overlord trying to escape, and eventually where the character would lead to. He would still definitely manipulate the classic ninja, but I was imagining a dynamic where the original 6 would be much more experienced with having to defeat the Overlord 3 times at this point, whereas the new ninja they would have brought in would be much more easily persuaded. Imagine something kind of like the Lady Bone Demon or the Ink from Monkey Kid. But instead of pile driving the drama all in one, it'd be much more slow and methodical, mainly because you have the original, more experienced ninja to take the edge off. And as I said earlier, I felt some good humor can come from that dynamic. However, when I had gotten to that point, I had basically nothing to say about him being imprisoned. I probably did have something to say when I was originally working on it, most likely what I just said to you, but for whatever reason I just didn't write it down, and through working on the video, my regular demotivation, getting sick, and just general life worries, I forgot it. And even with what I just told you, it's more of a broad concept. I'd probably want to go more in depth with the possible plot lines that could come from this, and it would definitely contrast with all the ideas I had for him escaping. It would feel a little bit cheap to mainly focus on that, but at that point I actually wanted to start working on the Rivendell video, so I was like, okay, I'll let this rest and get back to it when I come up with more ideas. Then more stuff happened, and then the rest is history. However, unlike the Rivendell video, the second reason I decided to cancel it would make no matter what I could salvage of it obsolete. It's just really this small little innocuous detail that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm not even sure if it crossed your mind when hearing me talk about it. It's just this little thing called Dragons Rising. To those either not in the fandom or have been living under a rock, Dragons Rising is TLDR, a Ninjago reboot. Lloyd, Orin, and Sarah are the main characters. The main MacGuffins are dragons and their balls. And the most important thing for this video is, I don't know. All of the 16 realms merged into one realm. Though in all honesty, I actually did not even consider this till after I'd already canceled it. It's like calling in sick from work because you have a tummy ache when your leg's literally chopped off. So yeah, I think that's a little self-explanatory as to why that would cause a problem. At best, I could kinda salvage it with a lot of stretching, and at most likely, it takes a complete remake of the video. I could reuse ideas, but as you'll see later, with the characters I mentioned, who bloody knows where they are. Also, half the ninja team are currently MIA, and all but Lloyd are going to be in and out main characters. And that's not even mentioning the fact that 2 of those realms are, I don't know, where the Overlord would respawn from. I think you get the point. There is absolutely no salvaging this video, at the very least in its current state. Not to say I am never going to return to it, quite the contrary. This is still an idea I very much want to explore. Just not until I have a good idea of what this new show is. Absolute soonest after season 1, and even that's pushing it and lucky. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's talk about the video itself. As for any updates or changes, there's really nothing. As you can probably tell, this is the most effort I've ever put into a video. Main reason I even decided to upload it like this. I feel like that's mainly due to me only getting to the character restate part, not so much the bringing him back part. So yeah, I pretty much stand by everything I said. Well, except for maybe one thing. It's kind of a little hard for me to say since I actually haven't rewatched Crystallized yet. I will stand by what I said about the first 6 episodes, and despite what Twitter users will have you believe, Christopher is very fun. However, I also stick by what I said about the rest of the episodes, and it kinda gets worse the more I think about it. Half the characters are sidelined and the other half are assassinated. It was such a bad finale, the only reason it didn't bother me was because it didn't even feel like one. Honestly, outside of the things mentioned prior and as well as the animation, really the only thing I can give Crystallized is that the only thing more annoying and aggravating than the season itself are the people who hate it, almost making me like it out of spite. Liking the season, they also seem to very much hate. And just to be clear, I'm not saying you can't dislike or even hate the season. I mean, you've heard me talk for the past few minutes, I can't blame you. It's just always those people. Just watch Bendo Brick's video. And yes, that rewriting Crystallized video is still in the works. I've just been on and off writing it, mostly off while I get my channel back on track. But now it's time for the real juicy meat of the video, the cutting room floor. I do want to quickly mention something that almost got cut, the little opening implicitly pretentious styled opening edit tribute thing. What do you call them? I wasn't going to remove it, however, I did shorten it. It sets the same mood I was going for. Really, the only difference is that the longer version does a better job at showing the parallels between Garmadon and Hirumi's first meeting with the Overlord. However, I decided to cut almost the entire minute off because it felt a little bit overly long. But I thought I'd show the full version here because why not? Now on to stuff that actually got cut, either before the Now What, or after I talked about the Overlord being captured, I would go into how the Overlord would actually return. You saw one way earlier, but there were actually 3 in total I wanted to mention. The first would be doing something similar to Ninjago Decoded. Decoded was just a series of shorts that were basically just clip show episodes with extra steps. However, looking back, it really wouldn't make much sense, so I'm not going to really go into it. The second way was actually do something similar to how the Crystallized brought him back. But whomst would the Overlord go to? Like, who is dead in the Cursed Realm / Departed Realm / it wasn't an inconsistency in Crystallized because the realms are one and the same after the ninja killed the Cursed Realm, so who gives a shit? Has done enough evil things for the Overlord to go to, but is also good enough to instantly turn him into the ninja. Who could possibly fit this?
I've been watching you.
And you're supposed to be?
I am the Bone King.
So, that skeleton dude that lives in the core of Ninjago?
Israel, I mean yes. And I have chosen you to become my champion and get revenge on those who have wronged you.
A little more specific, please?
Well, I have had my eyes on the ninja, Harumi, and maybe specifically more Master Wu and Lloyd Garmadon.
Well, if that's the case, count me in.
Perfect. Now, take me to...
And then I came here.
Bring me! I swear, I will send you back!
I have been back and forth from the afterlife 3 times at this point. You don't scare me. Yeah, I also have a few of these sketch-like things planned out. And yes, in hindsight, maybe it doesn't make much sense that the Overlord would go to Moro, but you could probably write some way that would make sense. Also, I just wanted to put it in, so there. After this, I would have gone into things that could be done now that Moro has returned. Specifically, I was thinking of calling back to what they said in Season 3 about how no one can leave the Cursed Realm without someone taking their place. And with both Moro and Harumi out, it would cause something to happen. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea what this would cause, but feel free to leave your own down in the comments. It would probably involve Moro going back to the Cursed Realm, as I never imagined it to be a permanent change. Plus, and I didn't get around to mentioning this, but all of this would be like a few seasons in. Really how long or like the time span this would all take place in would really just be how long the story would need. Anyways, it's finally time to get into him escaping. Well, however he would escape, he probably wouldn't be in the most tip-top shape considering... You know, I imagined that he would run back to one of his council members. Heck, he might even go to a few. And assuming old habits die hard, he'd probably start with Pythor. You could probably get a plot out of a 3rd team up, but I like to imagine after 4 failed times and 2 attempts with the Overlord, Pythor would just be completely done. So where does that leave the rest of the council? Well, Vangelis is smart enough to know it's a bad idea, and Mr. F is in the chat to pay respects. But that does leave Asphira, who has true tunnel vision to see it as a bad idea, and the mechanic who is smart enough to know it as a bad idea, but probably doesn't care. For Asphira, I imagine that the Overlord would possess her similar to how he did Garmadon. However, since Asphira would actually consent to this, mixed with the Overlord's weakened state, both of them would have control over her body. You could even have some back and forth between the two of them talking out of Asphira's mouth. This combination I have nicknamed Overlord, as you can see with the file name of this drawing. As for the mechanic, he would actually build the Overlord a new body. Unfortunately, while I did draw the Asphira drawing quite a while ago, I never got around to doing one for this. Actually, you know what? Screw it. What was originally meant to be just a rough sketch eventually turned into a full drawing. A legless one, but a full one nonetheless. As it's meant to be more scrapped together, I also made this alternate design which has a bit more patches of silver, but right now I feel as if the gold is enough, as it both reflects the Overlord's armor as well as the mechanic's arm. And yes, behind the skeleton is basically just a giant container holding him, this one I call Overdroid. They could also do something similar with what they did with Pixel in Season 4, but instead of Pixel it would be General Cryptor. Oh, and I was also going to do a joke for each of these where I didn't want to draw them, but then I just slipped and fell and accidentally made them, and it would have been a running gag with any drawing I mentioned forward. And last but not least, I had the idea that the ninja would just get so sick of dealing with the Overlord that they would just give him his own realm.
I don't...
Okay, yeah, now that I say it out loud, it does sound completely nonsensical, out of the blue, and completely impossible. As I talk about this video, I realize just how poorly conceived it was, and I hate it. But also, as you'll see in just a little bit, I was also thinking that they could start bringing back Lloyd's golden powers, aka the powers of the first Spinjitzu Master. So who knows, maybe Lloyd could do it. But as you know by now, where there is light, there must be dark. And now that the Overlord's MIA, who's gonna be that darkness? Well, here's what a very rough sketch of what I imagine this new Overlord type being would be. It's no final design, but it gets across the idea of what I want them to be. I was imagining that they would literally be the shadows. If there is any shadow in the room, they can spawn from it. The only thing being able to deter and or even stop them is the light from Lloyd's golden powers. I was imagining him to be the very last big baddie of this new show slash season slash whatever I thought it was, before Ninjago would inevitably be rebooted again. And because literally being shadows is incredibly OP, the ninja would enlist the help of the Overlord to help defeat it. Oh, and two last things. I was thinking that in the sets, some of the goons could actually look like the ninja. And if you were to shine a light right in front of one of these things, it would show a whole shadowy world within their body. However, I don't feel like drawing it. And that's pretty much everything. I do hope you enjoyed this video and everything I had to say. This has been one wild ride of a video. It's been who knows how long? Holy shit, it's been like 7 months since I announced this. I've probably been working on this for like half a year. Of course, most of it probably wasn't actually spent on working on it, but you know what I mean. And yes, that Seeing Stars video is still coming. Despite some flaws in my initial proposal, I'm still glad I managed to get this out to you guys. And I probably won't be using this green screen tactic ever again. But that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments and my proposals for bringing back the Overlord. Was I being too harsh on myself or was I not being harsh enough? Like and subscribe, socials will be down in the description. Check them out if you're interested or just take a break from social media because you probably need it. I gotta go get my channel back on track or just get a good night's sleep, whichever is less than possible. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.